who is that luxury traveler today? Who are the customers that we should be targeting when selling luxury? And are there different types of luxury customers that the travel advisors in this audience should be targeting?
Well, really, luxury is across all age categories. There's no longer just, the luxury or the baby boomers.
How do those millennials afford that luxury travel?
Well,
that's what I want to know.
They all make a lot of money now because they're working in the tech industry. And, they've traveled all their lives with their families. I mean, today, when you hear of how many countries a young person has visited, it's amazing. So, and also families are taking their kids out of school. They're seeing that travel is really an education. It makes their children more global citizens, more aware. So the luxury traveler could be a 5-year-old child that has told their parents where they want to go on their next trip.
That's a scary thought.
It is a scary thought, but it happens. So it's really across all age categories. So
wonderful. Now, Jon, who do you target, and where do you see the luxury travelers coming from? Who are they?
First of all, Becky, I hope you don't talk to my daughter. I don't want her to tell me where to go on my next vacation, but I think that might be happening as she turns 14 here. Where are they coming from?
Who are they?
Who are they? Well, it's interesting. As we look at who we're sourcing, we look at two kind of categories. We refer to as the upper crusters, which is...
Upper crusters?
The upper crusters.
Okay.
If you're from the UP. The upper crusters, they're there. But that is America's most desirable addresses, or the most affluent, where you would traditionally put in that category of luxury here. And as Carmen said, that's sort of the most overused word, I think, in the industry right now. But then also we look at more of the cosmopolitans, and those are the younger family mix that we're seeing that are coming in. But more and more, as we're working with our frontline travel advisors, and that we always recommend that you use a travel advisor, is that it's not about the demographic, it's about the psychographic. And I think that that's been one of the things that we've worked with our travel advisors when they're sourcing that high-value guest, is don't just ask, like, what do you drive or where do you live there. You're trying to find out what motivates that guest. And so I live in a neighborhood, all the homes are about the same price. But if you look at the driveways, there's someone that's driving a very expensive Mercedes-Benz, and then you look next door and there's someone that's buying or driving a 15-year-old Honda Civic. Even though they're in the same demographic, there's a different psychographic on what they choose to motivate them. And travel is a big part about that. We're seeing that is a social equity right now that people are looking for. So I would caution you when you're sourcing that guest to go beyond that demographic and look at what that psychographic is.
And Ignacio, who is this luxury travel, and who should we be targeting?
I think in general, if you had to pick one customer segment, I would target the baby boomers. I mean, whether
even today, right?
Even today, because
we're all getting older, but I don't know.
A couple of things to consider. Baby boomers control over 60% of all the wealth in this country. So for a while, your main target audience is going to be the baby boomers. There's no question that there are some wealthy young people coming up, but in general, if you have to generalize, I wouldn't target millennials necessarily, because don't forget they're sitting on over $1 trillion in student debt. And so minor detail. So
which they may never pay, actually.
Which, well, I don't know. I wish them well. But you need to look at your main core audience, and if you look across most luxury products, it is usually the baby boomers. But you also have what I call your aspirational affluent, the person who may not necessarily live on Park Avenue or Beverly Hills, but wants to have that experience, wants to travel on Crystal, wants to have a better experience, and is willing to pay for it. I would target not so much a demographic, but I would target the passion, because I think people will go to the ends of the earth if it's something that speaks to them, whether that's art or architecture or food and wine or whatever it is. And coming back to millennials, it interests me that they're not so interested in buying homes or buying cars or things like that, but they do have no problem spending $250 on lunch at Per Se, because it's going to be on Instagram and I want to tell all my friends about it, and it's going to.
But they won't eat the food; they'll just take the photos.
Well,
that's
that happens too. The food gets cold, but. So there are people that are willing to spend, even though they don't have the income, on a luxury experience, because that's what drives them.
Absolutely. Now, Carmen, I'll give you the last word on this. And then...
Yeah, so all of us have really hit it. It's not one size fits all, it's one size fits one. And as I think of luxury and our guest on board, It runs the gamut. It's everybody. So I just had the pleasure of being on my vacation. Yes, I took one.
You took a vacation.
Phenomenal 16 days on Crystal Serenity with my family on vacation. And I'll tell you, it was a melting pot to see who our guests are. And they come from all walks of life. And by the way, they are the working affluent. It is not, I love to say this, I tell my kids, you know I'm old when they say, what is Gilligan's Island, Mom? What do you mean? Thurston Howell. It's not the Thurston Howell image that people think. It's not that. It is the working affluent. I agree with you, Ignacio. It is about life lists. We don't call them bucket lists. It's life lists. About living. It's about ensuring that you are collectors of experiences, and you want to share that with who matters most, which is normally your family. So even though we're not targeting the millennials per se, make sure they get rid of all that debt, at the end of the day, they come with their families, they come with their parents, they come with their grandparents.
And they want to come back.
And they want to come back, absolutely.